structured share out of scientific models is a practice that teachers can use after students have drawn and engaged in scientific modeling. In many classrooms, only examples of student work that are right or best are shared with the whole class. But this practice helps to strategically select representations that could help lead to productive conversations in which students are learning from and with each other. Scientific knowledge is tentative and is developed through sharing and revising theories over time, so kids are getting to do the same thing. And if you are mindfully selecting student work that can be shared with others, you can counter narratives about who's smart in your class. In this 5th grade classroom, you will see students sharing their models on the overhead projector about this scientific artifact that's about 1,000 years old, and kids are trying to figure out which constellations might be represented on the artifact. Notice how the teacher encourages multiple ideas and presses students to share their evidence, and how she conveys the idea that scientific knowledge is tentative.
And this is Orion right here. It is Orion. And then Pegasus is this constellation.
And then, so I want you to back up. How do you know that that one's Orion?
Because I don't remember.
Yeah.
Really Orion, but we don't
Does anybody want to add why they think it's Orion?
Okay. Can I just
Here, I'm just going to give them for just a minute. Here, Annika and...
What? No!
Oh, Tom, you'll get to talk. You'll get to talk.
No, we go up in the show. I want to break show and then the chair break. Okay. Okay.
So if you flip into like page 25 in your book, you'll find a blah blah blah. I can't pronounce it. What's going to work for like the bottom one? Yeah. And then you can go to Orion and you see that there's a 3 and then the 2 up like that, which works for the
And we talked about that yesterday. Do you remember what that was called in Orion? Orion stuff.
And maybe
Like there's a Pegasus square.
if this artifact was probably made a really long time ago, so maybe the stars have moved. I don't know. And that's probably just like in all the different seasons, since the world is constantly rotating, you see different constellations in like different seasons. So you can see Orion in like winter and other like the other constellations in the other seasons, and the regular like.
Okay.
So we were thinking if these were all, if this was right and if Orion was the top one on the artifact, then that must mean that Pegasus and I don't know how to pronounce that one. And then so that means that probably on the missing spot of the artifact, it's probably Leo.
Okay.
But we don't actually know. We think
Okay, thank you very much. Liam, do you want to come up and, because these guys have something different that goes with that, so we'll go to this next.
Okay, so how does this
I'm just going to fix this really quick.
bottom constellation in your model that you showed, how does this look like the thing that was shown here?
Is that better?
So if you were to look at it without like the lines almost, you'd see that. So for example, if you were to like not realize that like Pegasus, if you were to only see the stars, like you in the sky you wouldn't see the lines aligning them like that. But if you were to see Pegasus, you'd see it in like. Yeah, it could have possibly, if this was possibly Pegasus, you'd see it as a square,
Let's
but
stop
like,
right there, Tom.
you might see it.
How many people think this is Pegasus? How many people think this one is Pegasus if it were to be?
I'm not saying it would be.
Is there anybody who thinks this is definitely not Pegasus? think it's definitely not Pegasus, Sebastian?
No.
You don't think it's Pegasus?
Well, yeah, I think it's Pegasus because it's like it's the square. So the square is part of the constellation of Pegasus. And the thing is that they didn't have the person who made that thing. So they didn't have enough space for the tail. So I think that's so it's actually Pegasus in my opinion.
Okay, cool. So do you guys think we should put that on the consensus model, that this one is Pegasus?
No, I don't, yeah.
Why don't you think we should put that on there?
There's another constellation I personally like to challenge that.
Yeah.
This square isn't really a square. This is a direct square, and this doesn't look quite like a square.
All right. So we have an idea that this square is Pegasus, and possibly it could be Hercules. So maybe that's something we could put on our model. If we find out that it's not Pegasus, can we change it on the model? Yeah, right? Because that's what a model is. You can always change a model. When you find out more information, you look at what you have, and you take that information and fit it with your model. And then if it doesn't fit, you change your model. So let's go ahead and make sure that one's on there. So you guys, do you have that on a sticky note? No? Let's make sure that gets on a sticky note, that the square, it might be the square of Pegasus, or it maybe could be Hercules.